Hello. So I posted a video a while ago on why Christians shouldn't be celebrating Christmas. And in my YouTube feed, I've seen a couple videos pop up of some individuals stating why it's okay for Christians to be celebrating Christmas. And they'll go and cite a bunch of stuff, and I'm not going to make a true rebuttal video because I'll just tell you why. They're basically, I love when people do this. They go, well, how do we know any of your stuff is real? Here's my stuff. You should believe it. Like when we're talking about writings from 2,000 years ago, well, here's what so-and-so said, about how it really was pagans who moved their holidays to December 25th because all the Christians were clogging up the Roman Catholic churches. And yeah, there was a Roman who supposedly said that. But again, it's like this guy wants us to drop all the stuff we have, the information we have, and just believe what he has. And they don't see the problem with that, which is odd to me. So this is where, but they do raise a point in being, in all fairness, none of us were alive back then. How do we really know? Okay, so I'll tell you how I build my argument. I trust, for the most part, the Bible. Now I want to get into King James versions, and words here and there have been switched, and it's hard. It's a translation. Actually, it's not even, I don't think it'd be considered translation. It's more of a version, because Hebrew doesn't translate well to English. But in general, there's so many copies around the world, I'm talking thousands, that are very, very, very similar, that in order for a person or an entity to change it, they'd have to change all those and be able to find all the old copies and change those. So unless you're talking pre-1500, 1600, because I've got a version of a Bible, a Roman Catholic Bible, actually, from like 16 or 1700s, maybe it's 1800s. Going before that, I mean, unless you find versions of the Bible before that, in which they do actually have, I think they've almost completely have an original text or a copy of one of the four Gospels. Is it Matthew? I don't know if it's Matthew. Might be John. Anyway, I trust the Bible pretty much for the most, So any other source you try to cite me, I'll listen to, of course. And if there's corroborating evidence, like there's corroborating evidence for the Bible all over the place throughout history. They found in archaeological digs and other people's writings, like Josephus. So, I mean, it's pretty well established. For those people like, oh, you trust the Bible? I used to say that too. And if you actually do the research, you'll see it's pretty good. It's pretty good for something that's been around that long. A lot of time for people to mess with it, and it hasn't been really. At least, I mean, I caveat, who really knows anything, right? But in general. So the Bible does say that there was pagans and idolaters and people who passed their children through the fire of Molech, which is burning your infants on a glowing red-hot statue and wishing for things. And pagans sure as fuck were way before Christians. That's another thing I like. This dude was trying to say that Christians were the big group. Dude, pagans came way before Christians. Way before. Old Testament, New Testament. Not even close. So it's not an issue of if they were doing this stuff. They were. Or they were doing this stuff first. They were. Now, the date, December 25th. Well, again, we weren't alive back then. How do we know for sure? 100% for sure. We don't. So if you want to celebrate Christmas, I get it. I do. But let's look at some clues. This guy first attacked, I forget his name. I wish I could remember his name. December 25th and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's the reasons the Romans had Sol Invictus and the pagans did it on the 25th is because it's the winter solstice. So it's not like it's just some random date. It's the sun, the winter solstice, the birth of the rising sun, whatever they call it, the undying sun. And that's what all their gods, Tammuz and all the pagan gods, Osiris and there's a whole bunch of them. My brain farting right now. but that's why their birth was on that day. Fun, coincidence? I think not. And so, what's more likely that the pagans switched to December 25th to coincide with the Christians, or when the Roman Catholic Church got jammed together, that the Christians did the December 25th? I mean, unless there's a big piece of evidence missing, it's pretty obvious which way that went. Sorry. I mean, you gotta use logic here at some point. And as far as the other details, I mean, like I said, you could go through those. I'm not going to, because, again, it's just going to come down to he said, she said, dates. I can show you this book. I can show you this text. How can you really believe it? Like, oh, yours we can't believe, but mine's legit. Trust me. And I'm not going to do that because it's just boring. It's basically throwing like information at each other. Like, I'm throwing this at you. And half the time people don't listen or take it in. So I just want you to be careful out there, because there's a lot of people, although that make a very, very good argument. The devil makes it always. Don't underestimate him. And I'm not calling these people the devil, but I'm just saying there's information out there that gets put out there in a very, very slick fashion, a very well packaged delivery. It sounds good, and it's very easily can sway your beliefs, and you shouldn't let it without the utmost scrutiny. Always be careful of people who are trying to discredit your information from, especially when it's a long time ago, dated stuff, that's hard because you got to rely on these old, super old texts, which is true. I give them that. See, that's the problem. They work on like half truths. They kind of get you. It's hard, but then they just blurt theirs out there with no irony at all. No, like, well, here's mine. I know it's the same thing. It's hard to believe it, but here's no. It's like yours are questionable, as they twist their evil villain mustache, and then they just spew bloviate on about theirs. So you got to be on the lookout. Damn, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, but I'm not going to get into the Christmas tree and all that. That's like, again, that's details, but the meat of it is the guy was pushing that Christians are the ones that had the data. I believe that's what he said, and pagans are the ones that were they were almost forced to switch to the 25th because those dang Christians coming in and taking over everything, which I'm sure at some point they were in the Roman Catholic Church. But the whole point is what's his name? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. Constantine. When he jammed the church together with everybody else, when he tried to force people in, he brought paganism was it. And plus Mithraism, he was worshipped the sun. Christian was not his thing. It's not like he was a Christian. That was just a show, a facade, really. So it's not like paganism was the stuff that was law throughout the land pretty much. Then here comes along Christianity, and he pens it into the official church of the state. And all the pagans just were like, oh, okay, so we'll change names and we'll change our little outfits. That's all they did. So this notion that, the dwindling number of pagans had to acquiesce to the dates of the Christians does not stand up to logic at all. I mean, maybe if this happened 500, 1,000 years after Constantine, you could make that argument, sure. So, just be careful of even me. I mean, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Do your own research. Because I'm not going to be defending you. I'm not going to be your lawyer when you croak and you're in front of the Lord. Yeshua is. So, I think you're going to have to articulate your well thought out reasoning as to what you did on this earth. And keep in mind, it can't be a golden calf excuse. Don't even try to bring that excuse. Well, it didn't mean that to me, Lord. I meant something else when I celebrated it. Yeah, Aaron tried that with a golden calf. The Israelites tried that with a golden calf. They got killed pretty much on the spot. The Lord wouldn't play in any of that. So make sure you have your ducks in a row. and I think he'll be all right. But because the Lord, I have to be honest, I always have this nagging in the back of my head. When we used to celebrate Christmases before we knew better, they were always amazing. Even if our lives were in turmoil, our Christmases were always amazing. And I know, some of my two favorite guys, honestly, Tiborosaurus Rex and Bear Independent, they are both, from what I remember of their videos and various videos, are of the opinion that there's no such thing as ignorance as an excuse with the Lord. I disagree, only based off of my personal experience. The Lord has always blessed our Christmases and pagan holidays before we knew any better. So again, I'm here to help and answer questions you may have, but you want to go check out Bear Independent. He reads the Bible full. He's reading it full through. You can go watch his videos. I highly recommend you do that. And then Tiborosaurus Rex, it's just so much knowledge. So I recommend you guys. I'll point those guys out in the comments. But yeah, that's my take on it. And like I said, you don't know who's right and who's wrong, but there are some core facts that we can pretty much for certain count on in the Bible, and then we can use logic. So that's what I'm sticking with. I'm not going to go with all these random details that may or may not be true. I'm going to go with what's in the Bible and the dates and the logic that corresponds.